Magical Mystery School. And thank you so much for coming back to Symbols of the Tarot, Class 28. All right. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the minor arcana, the count cards. Those are the 2 through 10. And we've gotten up to the 7s. So if you want to go back, just go to my channel and find the playlist called Symbols of the Tarot, and you can go back and look at some of the keys that we've been talking about. We've done all the majors and all the minor, or we're court cards, and now we're working through the count cards, which I call the 2 through 10 cards. Okay. All right. So when we talk about 7s, the first one I want to talk about here a little bit, just remind you about the Chariot, and remember and just talk about the number 7 itself. So 7 is typically, a number of deep thinking, being insightful. It can almost even seem a little detached, because people are so deep in their own thoughts and that kind of thing, and that sort of situation. And it can also go down into actually being a little bit deceitful, or maybe pessimistic, or I kind of, instead of being deceitful, I would rather think of it as having, developing strategies and that sort of thing. But just remember, with the Chariot, it is called the Chariot, not the charioteer. So the Chariot is us. That's the personality. So we're running around the field of experience here. And the charioteer is actually our higher self, or our spiritual energy, that type of thing. So just remember, our spiritual selves, our higher selves, are experiencing this 3D plane through us. And our personalities are basically what spirit is experiencing here on this 3D plane. So that kind of, I don't know, that kind of gave me some motivation to clean up my personality, to make it something that spirit would enjoy experiencing, basically. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at the minor arcana here. And we start with the Wands, which is fire. And that's also our passions, our spirituality. And when we look at this character, we can see right off the bat, he's definitely standing up for himself. He has courage. He's even has he's up above this rabble down here who are holding the 6 wands. I always think of this as a gang of people going rah, 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 and he's kind of having to defend himself. But we can also think of it, so we can think of it as not only courage in standing up for himself, but also being defensive and trying to defend themselves. So again, when we're looking at these keys, if we're doing a spread, you want to think about, what question am I asking? Am I, or the person I'm reading for, are they coming at this from a courageous point or from a defensive point? Because remember, there's always a spectrum of negative to positive, how we can interpret these keys. Okay, let's go on to Pentacles here. Now, Pentacles are earth, or our physical experiences here on the 3D plane. And this character, he's not having to work too hard here. He's definitely reevaluating. He's looking at his handiwork, because this is physical experiences here. And he's he's kind of maybe considering his options. There is some success here, but maybe not, a little unfulfilled, not totally successful, because he is kind of wondering, there's not a sense of celebration here. There is a sense of, do I like what I see? Now, these pentacles are on a plant here. So what that's telling us is that perhaps if he lets it keep growing, his success will be fulfilled. Okay, now here we move on to the swords. and the Seven of Swords. And, you know, the first thing I always think of when I see this one, well, I used to think, oh, it's a Russian, right? Because it looks, to me, it looks like what I think of as a Cossack. But with what's been going on with Ukraine and everything, I have had a chance to study up a little bit on Ukraine a little bit more. And it turns out the Ukrainians are the Cossacks, not the Russians, with the red hat and red shoes here. But so there is a sense, though, of this character stealing. Maybe this is just sunrise and he's getting away with 5 swords. He's had to leave 2. He wasn't able to steal everything, but he is getting away from that, taking away these weapons. And you know, if you're in that's one thing we've learned from the Ukrainian and what's going on over there with the Russians, is that sometimes you have to be a little tricky and to maybe to win the war, right? And you have to do some deceptions to fool your enemy, basically. But this key, though, in a more straightforward way, if you do get this in a reading or in a spread or pull it for yourself, could mean that there might be some deception around you, or that there is some deception or manipulation going on, you know, within yourself, okay? Because sometimes the biggest person we're deceiving is our own selves, you know what I mean? Okay. Now, the Seven of Cups here, this cups are water, so remember that's our emotional bodies. And this one, now this does actually, to me this looks like a conjurer that's actually conjuring up these 7 cups out of the ethers here on these clouds here. So this key often does represent, are you fooling yourself? Are you dealing with illusions or disillusioning yourself, that sort of thing? So again, you know, need to look a little bit under the surface. Now, another interpretation for this one is you've got 7 options here. Whether they're good or bad, you know, you may have more options than you know what to deal with. But I think it's so funny when we look at the ghost. I mean, he definitely lets us know about this delusion here. I mean, that's a person with a sheet over their head, right? And he's holding out his hands going, boo, you know. He's like, I mean, like, really? You know, is that really supposed to scare us? You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious. And then, you know, and one is, you know, physical riches, maybe getting a home, winning something, the snake here, maybe some sexual conquest, that type of thing. So do look if the 7 of Cups shows up, just remember to look under the surface and make sure you're not falling for some sort of illusion, some ghost under the sheet there. Okay, let's move on to the 8s. And here we've got the Major Arcana 8, which is our strength key. Don't want to make him so far away. And the cups and the swords and the pentacles and the wands. And I also wanted to include the Magician on this one for our information here. Okay. So, well, this still don't look very straight, but I'm not going to get too Virgo on you here. Okay, all right. So now just 8s in general is 2 times 4. So remember, our 4 was our builder card. That's our, you know, we have to have 4 corners for our foundations, 4 legs on a chair, that kind of thing. So 2 times 4 is real stability. It's interesting, when I add up the numbers of my addresses that I've lived in throughout my life, the ones where I've stayed the longest have been 8s. It's really interesting. Like right now, the house I've lived in, I've been here at least 10, 11 years, and, you know, it's 1219. It comes out to a 4, actually. It comes out to a 4, excuse me. So that stability is just doubled that for 8. And now she is showing supreme confidence here with, you know, putting her hand around this lion's mouth. And she's doing this through being gentle and kind. That she's gained this, the king of the beasts, our own internal beast, gained its trust, that type of thing. Now, let's see. Now, we can also think about controlling, though, this animal nature through manipulation and that sort of thing. So just be aware and that's sort of where the magician also comes in here. But that this to one extreme, like I said, there's always a whole, from one extreme to the other, how we can interpret these cards. But, that's what they say sometimes about the magician, that he's kind of a little bit of a manipulator. Okay, but also our best manifester also. Now, I also wanted to point out the 8 along with the 0. With a 0, we can just go round and round and round to make the 0. Well, it's the same way with the 8. It's a number that, we don't have to lift up our pencil at any point. We can just keep going around and around and around. Infinity, right? It's also infinity. Okay, so now let's look at each one of the keys. And also these would be good for business too. Now this one we see, this is the wands, again, fire. We have got info, spiritual information just coming down onto us here, really. And this is also considered probably one of the fastest cards in the deck, right? So if this one pops up in a spread, something's coming on, and it's coming on pretty soon too. So, and this one, I always think of this one as the wands are coming from above to below, all right? But sometimes when you see other decks, it'll look like those are coming up from below to above. So just remember that is a cyclical process there. But with that open plane behind us, there's that activity of the world, right? Or this could be, not only getting information for our physical experiences on the open plane, but it could also be an open mind, all right, that we're ready to receive that information. But something's coming, and something's coming quickly when we see this one. Okay, now the 8 of Pentacles here, remember Earth, physical. So here we see, sometimes this is called the Apprentice card, but we definitely see a craftsman working hard, developing his skills. So this may, if this comes up in a spread, may give you, may be telling you, you gotta work hard. You gotta get your skills toned up here, and before you can venture out of the apprentice workshop here. I've also heard some tarot card readers call this the card of making license plates. So for people going to jail. Interesting. Well, in these days, we are kind of interested in who might be going to jail. But anyway, now when we move on to the 8 of Swords, here we see a character who's bound and surrounded by swords. And remember when we first started this, I said to go through the decks and pick out the card that you had the most negative reaction to. This was my card, okay? This is the one that kind of really, oh, she looks so trapped and, bound up and everything like that. But when you start to look at her more closely, she could probably just kind of wiggle a little bit there, and those ropes or whatever might just slide right off her, and then she could take her blindfold off and see she's not surrounded by swords, she's not trapped. She might have to walk through a little mud there, but she could get out of this. And remember, this is swords. Oh, sorry, there's my clock, but we'll just let it bong along here. I think it's only going to be 2, so that won't be too bad. 2 sets. So this can also tell us that maybe we're being a little fooled by our own mind. And, probably, especially since I've started this work, I can't tell you how many times when there's just been something I just thought was, truth was the way it is. And I didn't even really think about it. And then you think of something different and it totally changes your consciousness. And I guess I'll just be honest here and tell you, for me, it was like for divorce. It never even occurred to me that divorce was an option in my life. I was married for 23 years. And, I just thought, it's not that I thought divorce was bad or good. I just didn't think of it as an option, And finally, at some point, and I'll tell you that story some other time, I did realize, hey, that is an option for me. And so this feeling of being trapped could just be in your mind, swords. So just keep that in mind. Maybe not something quite so, like that for you, but I'm sure you have some of those too also in your mind. And then we have the 8 of Cups here, and this is often called the walking away card. So this could be just a lot of times people say walking away from a bad situation, but to me, this looks like, when I see that 8 of Cups, they're all standing up. None of them are spilled. I'm not sure if there's anything in them. Can't quite see that. But to me, I've also heard interpretations where, job done. You got your cup set up, everything's ready to go, and you can just walk right out of there. And this is at night, because that's a symbol for a full moon. And I can see that this character, to me, he or she doesn't look beaten down or anything like that. To me, it looks like he's just walking away and maybe looking at something where he can looking for something higher, maybe have a new adventure, something that will build up his consciousness even more. So that's the way I see the 8 of Cups, basically. So I think that's good. I wanted to stay between that 15 and 20 minutes. And next time we'll jump into key 9 and 10 for sure, and maybe we'll do some other things, because I'm going to go through another set of relating these cards to astrology in another round here. But I wanted to just get these basic meanings out. So anyway, you guys, just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. And did I say, please like and subscribe? Okay, guys, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye!